Hi there, everybody. So we're just going to wait a couple of moments as I think there might be a few more people joining in. But hopefully you find this informative. Last webinar, we ended short and we'll hopefully get you out early as well this time. Oh, okay. All right. So hi, nice to meet you. My name's Caroline and welcome to our Proof of Principle 2025 second program information webinar. So as a minor housekeeping piece, please select the chat button on your screen and enter any questions you have in the chat box during the meeting. So all participants are welcome to submit questions during the webinar, but we'll get to them verbally at the end. As a brief introduction, my name is Caroline. I am the program manager for the Microbiome Initiative, managing the POP program, and I work closely with my colleagues who are here as well today, Dr. Marcel van de Waal, our program director, as well as Yusra Majoka, our grants coordinator. So they'll be monitoring the chat today. And to go over briefly the overall Weston Family Foundation objectives, for those of you who don't know about it, the Weston Family Foundation is the private philanthropic foundation of the Weston family. And the foundation invests in innovation and learning in health and landscapes to deliver measurable impacts to the well-being of Canadians. And that's really a primary focus for the foundation. So the Weston Family Microbiome Initiative was created in 2017 with a goal to support transformative research on the microbiome to help improve the health of Canadians. And to date, it's committed at least over $70 million to microbiome research in Canada, around 22 million of which has gone through the POP program. Overall, at the foundation, we look at a very holistic view of how we get the best ideas from bench to bedside. And so we use this funnel approach of a spark, shepherd, and scale to help ensure the best ideas have the best chance of success. So what does that mean when you're thinking about kind of the long-term strategy for any work here? In the POP program, initially we start with early stage ideas. And so this is a spark level idea type of project that we're initially working with. They are generally high risk, high reward projects to generate proof of principle data. And this really aims to de-risk projects to improve Canadian health outcomes through the microbiome to the level that they can move on to larger scales. For projects that have promising results at the POP level or the spark level, they might be shepherded on to the next stage. And so at that stage where we have our transformational research program at around the 1 to 2 million mark, those projects that have strong potential to improve health are invited to submit proposals to expand the scope of those initial ideas and that initial research. For those projects, once they have sufficient data and evidence supporting that mid-level idea, we then work with researchers to ideally see how that can scale to a larger Canadian society. So this might look like an advanced clinical study or population level health research. And this is really to operationally test strategies to apply, implement, and to deliver significant impacts to Canadians. So that is our largest stream at around $5 to $10 million. And our goal overall is to help bring researchers to bring their ideas to have greater impact in the Canadian society. So moving on to some other important pieces about the Microbiome Initiative. Number one, we have a very interactive application process. Applicants are encouraged to connect with the foundation to discuss their proposals and bounce ideas with myself or some colleagues. Number two, we have funds provided in tranches. So what does that mean? Funding is subject to successful completion of milestones that are agreed upon with successful applicants between us, the foundation, and successful applicants, so that once you've completed your milestones, you would be eligible for the next tranche of funding. And third, the review process is aimed at strengthening applications. So reviewer suggestions through our interactive process are used to strengthen the proposals for next steps of development and the translation to real-world application. Moving on to this year's program call specifically, overall, the Proof of Principle program provides funding to innovative translational projects that seek to leverage the microbiome to deliver new interventions or preventative strategies for improving health. And for POP 2025, our goal is to provide funding to projects that seek to identify, validate, or apply microbiome-based interventions to improve human health. And so this is providing up to $300,000 per project for up to 30 months. For POP 2025, therefore, projects should seek to develop therapeutics or preventative strategies to leverage the microbiome towards improving health, including through Health Canada or FDA-approved or investigational drugs. This might include small molecules, biologics, or live biotherapeutic products. Dietary substrates, including but not limited to prebiotics, fibers, oligosaccharides, but excluding complete dietary changes, and microbial-derived products like FMTs and probiotics. And there's three main streams that we're considering under POP 2025. So the first, of course, being interventions. So this might involve projects that are developing novel therapies, or therapeutic microbiome-based interventions for treating disease or improving health outcomes in a population. An example might be administering a probiotic as an intervention specifically focused on a microbiome target in IBS. Secondly, we're also considering modulation. So this involves improving patient responses to already existing treatments or therapies by modulating the microbiome. And this might involve administering fecal microbiome transplants to improve immunotherapy efficacy in different types of cancers. Thirdly, we're also looking at mechanistic work, as there's much work still to be done in that area. So this would involve causally determining how the microbiome relates to a disease to identify new therapeutic targets. And so, for example, this might involve an example of this where basically we're trying to identify a microbial enzyme or metabolite deficient in people with Parkinson's disease as a novel potential target. Something else we wanted to note is that from the Foundation's perspective, there's a significant opportunity to leverage organoids in microbiome research, and we're proud to support the creation of the Canadian National Organoid Network to make organoids more accessible to the Canadian research community. And so if you are interested in using organoids in your work, please do contact the Canadian National Organoid Network on their website on this slide. We also wanted to note that two common types of projects that would not be eligible for POP 2025 would be, firstly, dietary interventions where the gut microbiome is an exploratory outcome rather than a more important integral part necessary for microbiome-based intervention. And secondly, we would not consider testing existing probiotics or prebiotics already available in the Canadian market in new health conditions where there's no strong rationale or mechanistic target for why that specific available probiotic or prebiotic could improve the health outcome. So if you are interested in using things off the shelf, there should be a new mechanism or kind of rationale for why it would be relevant for another disease. And so there are two main streams of funding for POP 2025, or two kind of main types of projects. Number one, up to $300,000 is focused on projects with active patient engagement and testing. So this looks like clinical studies and trials. And number two, up to $200,000 are projects not working with patients. So biobank samples, animal studies, in vitro or ex vivo experiments. We also wanted to note that regarding animal studies, the Foundation prefers projects involving human participants or human-derived samples where possible. Now, we recognize that's not always possible, and so animal studies are possible through this funding, subject to the following considerations. So it would be dependent on the work being conducted, the scale and the significance of the study, the cost and time considerations, as well as, we would still consider animal models where there's pre-screening and use of human microbiome samples, if it is properly justified, and that can be allowed in different circumstances. But predominantly, our goal is that when there is animal work conducted, we hope to have definitive, robust results to encourage additional follow-on study. And if you have any questions, please do contact us about any animal work you're interested in conducting. Moving on to some of the nuts and bolts of our application process. If you're interested, as principal applicants, you must meet the following criteria. So being at or above the level of assistant professor, working at a CRA qualified donee in Canada, so most universities, and the projects must align with the scope of the program. And rest assured, for principal applicants who have participated in previous POP grants, you are encouraged to join this competition as well. And we have several examples of previous POP winners who have won in consecutive years. To clarify as well, any questions about the team member composition when you're completing the letter of intent or application. And there's only one principal applicant per project, but principal applicants are supported by co-applicants and collaborators. So co-applicants must be at the postdoc level or above, working in Canada, while collaborators must be at the postdoc level or above and can be working outside of Canada. So any potential applicants can only be principal applicant for one project, but you can be a principal applicant and a co-applicant or collaborator on any amount of other projects. And there are two main phases for our application process. This is all completed online through Smart Simple. And the first phase really is our letter of intent. So this is around 3 pages of content focusing on the quality of the idea. Around 15 to 35% of these will eventually go on to the proposal phase after being reviewed internally by staff. And at the proposal phase, this is when people are invited to write 10 to 12 pages of content plus supplementary data and CVs. Around half of those eventually get funded as well. So our aim for this year is to have around 13 of it funded by this program. These are at the proposal stage, predominantly reviewed by the International Review Panel. So I will repeat this a couple of times, but for the letter of intent, if you're interested in applying, please do so by June 2nd, and the proposal will be due on August 15th. So recapping some of the key differences between letters of intent and proposals, letters of intent are really about the scientific idea. So the fit for the program, potential for impact, likelihood of success, the experimental overview, and short-term and long-term directions. Whereas at the proposal stage, it's looking at the strength of the methods. So experimental approach, team and resources, budget and timeline, milestones, and development plan. And so some common reasons why letters of intent might not be invited to the proposal phase might be that the project is out of scope, the project may be limited in its potential for patients, there might not be a lot of focus or cohesion in various elements of the grant or the writing, so it could be too exploratory or too ambitious for the time frame or budget. There might not be a clear translational plan, and sometimes there might not be a clear hypothesis. So when writing your letters of intent, be careful to make sure it's very clear in these respects. Moving on to the financial piece on budgeting, this is predominantly something that you would write during the proposal phase, but each project would be funded at around $200,000 to $300,000. And when writing the budget, it would focus on direct justifiable costs. This might be key personnel, lab supplies or consumables, animal costs, patient care costs, or service costs like sequencing. And it also includes travel expenses to scientific meetings and publications. But this excludes equipment, computer, administrative, or indirect costs, which might include, I know sometimes university overhead is something that institutions try to put in, but that is not part of this eligible expense. As an important note, we are a milestone-driven foundation, and so thus we provide tranche-based funding that is contingent on meeting those key milestones that are agreed upon by grantees and by the foundation to help make sure that you're able to move along with the project in the timeline. Moving on to the regulatory and ethics piece, we know that for a lot of grantees, ethics approval is a challenge to work with different ethics boards or work with Health Canada. And so we do recommend getting started on the ethics approval process at the proposal stage. And the review panel does look favorably upon projects that proactively seek to understand any necessary regulatory approval pathways, such as Health Canada. We also want to note that there is a maximum period of 2 months from the project start date to secure required approvals. So for those approved projects, please do make sure that you have those ethics pieces started. Moving on to the confidentiality piece, any interactions you have with the foundation are subject to our standard non-disclosure agreement. So the foundation treats letters of intent, proposals, research projects, and associated research information as confidential information. And participating scientific reviewers are subject to the foundation's standard NDAs. Confidential information will only be used by the foundation and its scientific review committee. And so you can rest assured that reasonable care is taken to protect confidential information from disclosure to third parties. And now we're at the fun part, the Q&A. So please let us know if you have any questions, if they haven't been addressed by some of my colleagues in the chat. But for project-specific queries, please do email microbiome@westonfoundation.ca, and we'll try to get back to you as soon as possible.